was a lot of red in the crowd last night for Game 1 between the Phils and the Los Angeles Dodgers. It'll be the same today. You look at the Dodgers Express rolling into Dodger Stadium. There are a lot of Phillies fans who are going to get a chance to see their team maybe for the only time in 2016. It's Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Phils and the Dodgers. Now, the Phillies did make a roster move earlier today. We heard after the game last night that Zach Eflin's been dealing with sore knees. Well, they've decided to put him on the disabled list. Whether he pitches again the rest of the year remains to be seen. Elvis Araujo is scheduled to be here tonight for this ball game against the Dodgers. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy along with Ben Davis. So the Phillies will deal with a similar lineup for the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight. The only difference is Howie Kendrick's playing left field for them. One thing that we got a chance to see for the first time this year was Corey Seager, and he was fantastic last night.
He was fantastic. We were both impressed with the size of this young shortstop. He has all the intangibles. He can flat out hit, he can pick it at shortstop, and he can run a little bit. 3-2 fastball here off Zach Eflin last night. He creates so much leverage with his lower body, creates a lot of backspin. A lot of balls will carry out of the ballpark for him. Here's a first pitch slider off Michael Marriott. His pitch recognition is beyond belief and way surpassed by a rookie.
Well, you look at some of the rookie numbers for Corey Seager so far. 302 batting average, 21 home runs. The 21 home runs is second to Trevor Story. Story is injured. He's out, so it's only a matter of time before Corey Seager is able to pass Trevor Story. You would think in that quarter category as well. All right, so Vince Velasquez makes the start for the Phils. As we mentioned, he grew up 30 miles east of Los Angeles. He's excited to be out there. I wonder how amped he'll be for tonight's ball game.
Well, I hope he's not too amped. He does have a great fastball. He will throw a lot of pitches per inning, but I hope he can really calm himself down. It's much like when I got to play my first game at the Vet. This is his Vet. Dodger Stadium is a special place to be. One thing that he's done a little bit better throughout the course of this year is the use of the changeup. Now, the funny thing is about the changeup, it's only about 5 miles an hour slower than his fastball, but he's relying on the movement with this new grip to get outs.
All right, so you see back April and May, he threw it 7% of the time. Now he's up to nearly 16% of the time. They would actually like that number to be up a little bit more. We'll see if he uses it tonight. I think a lot of us would like to see 95, 96 more consistently, but we'll see what he has in store for the Dodgers in tonight's game. So it is Game 2 of this 3-game series for the Phillies. It'll be their first opportunity to see Maeda over from Japan, making his 23rd start here in the majors. Lineups and first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota, the annual clearance sale is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Some celebrities in the crowd here tonight as we get set for the Dodgers and the Phils game 2. Let's take a look at the Phils lineup brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Hernandez, Herrera, and Franco, followed by Ryan Howard, Cameron Rupp, and Aaron Altair. Freddie Galvis will hit 7th, Cody Ashley 8th, and batting 9th and pitching is Vince Velasquez. And they will face the right-hander from Japan, Kenta Maeda, who is 10-7 with an ERA of 3.22. He's been pretty good, Ben. He's got an incentive-laden contract. He signed an 8-year, $25 million deal, but it can go up to $90 million by the time it's all said and done. And the first pitch of the night coming to Cesar Hernandez is just off the outside corner. So we're underway. Hernandez, 289 with 2 home runs, 27 runs batted in. He was 1 for 5 last night with a triple. Outside, 2-0.
Well, the scouting report on Maeda said about 90 miles an hour. He is a 5-pitch pitcher. He will throw them all. He's been pretty good over his last 3 starts. 2-0 with a 3.06 ERA.
Breaking ball. His curveball has been his big issue, or one of his big issues. Slider, there's no issue at all with that. Curveball, though, the opposition is hitting 340. And honestly, I think you can see it with that kind of pitch right there. See Hernandez's numbers overall and on the road this year. Down low, 3-1. He has walked 32 batters in 125 2/3. One of his adjustments that's really been good is he's not allowing a lot of base runners. His whip is 1.07. Fly ball left side. Seager, the shortstop, is under it. And he gets an out with a curveball. Oh, there's one away. Time now for our Nissan keys to the game. Ben, take it away.
Well, you just saw it. 3-1 curveball, 2-0 curveball. Offense need to be ready for anything at any time. He will not sit in any pattern whatsoever. And Vince Velasquez is going to be geeked up tonight to pitch at Chavez Ravine, but he needs to pitch at contact, keep that pitch count down.
Yeah, that's been one of, I think, the biggest issues for Vince. Pete McCann was asked today about his innings pitched this year. He said, well, if he can get through some of these games with going beyond 5 innings, he might be in better shape. Odubel Herrera, the batter, he shows bunt, takes it low, 1 ball and no strikes. Home plate umpire is the veteran Jeff Kellogg. John Tumpane is at first. Alan Porter, local guy, is at second, local to the Philadelphia area, and Brian O'Nora is around at third. 1-0 pitch is hit in the air to shallow left field. Howie Kendrick comes running in, looking for Seager. He's under it, makes the catch. 2 outs. Good luck at McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Francis Beagle of Philadelphia. Phillies hit a home run in today's ballgame. Then Francis will win $100. McDonald's mix and match any 2 for just $2.50 on McDonald's McPick 2 menu.
Good luck, Francis.
Here's Michael Franco. His average sits at 250 with 20 home runs and 66 runs batted in. All the balls that he's hit hard on this road trip, you see those bottom numbers, hitting 185 in recent games. They play him to pull. Utley's on the left side of the infield. And a fastball at the knees, 0-1. It's only been the last couple of years we've seen this more consistently with some dead pull right-handed batters. No swing, says John Tumpane. If there is one aspect of Maeda's game that the Dodgers would like to see him increase, it's kind of the same thing as Vince Velasquez. They would like him to go deeper in games. He's averaging under 6 innings per outing. Now they say there's an adjustment to baseball in the States because he's pitching every 5th day, whereas in Japan he was throwing once every week. So interesting that they do that. Well, you see his strikeouts are up in his last 11 starts per 9 innings. outside, 3-1, but we've already seen 2 3-1 counts in this inning.
It's hard to get yourself to sit on something soft in a 3-1 count, but he's just not going to give in.
Got a play.
That pitch there at 82 looked like a little slider.
Three balls and 2 strikes to Franco. Maeda is the 43rd Japanese-born pitcher in baseball history. Off the end of the bat, foul. Just saw Ichiro pick up his 3,000th hit. He is the most cherished offensive player from Japan.
I think he's one of the most cherished offensive players ever.
Back toward the middle and flagged down by Maeda. He won a Gold Glove over in Japan. And it's a good thing he was there to flag it down, because that would have been a base hit up the middle. Utley may have gotten to it, but I don't know. Anyway, it's a 1-2-3, top of the first inning for the Dodgers. Maikel Franco trying to get on base and give the Phils a little life here in the first inning, but Maeda had different things in mind. We'll move to the bottom of the first. Wasted no time. Dave Roberts is watching Chase Utley walk to the plate here in the bottom of the first inning. The lineup for the Dodgers brought to you by Xfinity. The new Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Utley, Seager, and Turner. Reddick, Gonzalez, Grandal. The bottom third of Peterson, Kendrick, and Maeda. And they will face right-hander Vince Velasquez, who has pitched in Southern California before. He pitched 1 inning in Anaheim against the LA Angels. But this is the first time he's getting a chance to pitch at Dodger Stadium, a place that he came often when he was young to watch the Dodgers play. This is his 20th start overall. I feel like we say that a lot about Phillies players over the years, whether it be Chase Utley, Randy Wolf, guys like that.
California and Florida, baseball hotbeds.
114 strikeouts for Velasquez. Utley hitting .250 with 8 home runs. He hit his 8th home run last night. I think they're going to appeal that one. Scouting report on Velasquez.
It's at about 94 miles an hour. Second pitch he throws most frequency is that slider, curve and a change. But I'd like to see that 16.6 pitches per inning down quite a bit.
By the way, they finally did just appeal. And Brian O'Nora said, yes, Chase Utley went, which it looked like he did. No balls and 2 strikes to Utley. And he fouls that off rough. Here's the previous pitch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he went.
Thinking maybe I'll get away with one here.
Utley is 2 for 18 in the month of August. He's hitting around 200 since the All-Star break. 0-2 pitch again. Inside. 1-2. Told you last night that Chase said that Corey Seager wanted him to dye his hair, his gray hair. So Utley said, if you hit 2 home runs, I'll do it. So he hit 2 home runs last night, but then Utley said, no, I hit 1, so it negates it. 2-2 or the 1-2 pitch down low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Phillies play Utley to pull. Zach Eflin missed his spot yesterday with Utley, and he golfed one out of the ballpark against him. Swing and a miss. Tied him up with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, 1 away here in the bottom of the first. Well, last night, the 4th multi-home run game of the year already for Seager.
That in itself is hard to believe, but I talked about the leverage that he can create with his legs. High finish. Breaking ball, it doesn't matter. He's a special player. That is apparent.
His average now at .302 with 21 home runs, 54 runs batted in. On the inside corner. So this is a good sign. 94 primarily with his fastball to start this game for Velasquez. A lot of times in the first inning, his first few pitches are 89 or 90 with his fastball. One ball and 1 strike. Dodgers as a team are averaging 4.5 runs per game. They start play tonight a game out in the National League West, but 4 games up in the wild card. They have one of the 2 spots right now for the wild card. Really good home team. In the top of the first, we showed you what they've been over this recent stretch, but they have the 2nd best home record in the National League behind the Chicago Cubs. Might have overthrown that slider a bit. 2-2. At the knees, 95 with that heater. Back-to-back strikeouts. Yeah, they're 2 away here in the first.
I don't know if this is intentional or not, but a lot of these fastballs are cutting. They have slight cut to them. He was able to get Utley with it, even on a called strike earlier, but this is a, I wouldn't say it's a cutter, but you can see this action coming back towards a left-handed hitter. You got that at 95. That's going to be a tough pitch to hit for these Dodgers.
Well, 2 away. Here's Justin Turner, who's hit in 9 consecutive games. .274 hitter, 20 home runs, 65 runs batted in. See what he's done over the last 10 days. Well, he's amped. We haven't seen this in the first inning in a while for Vince Velasquez. After a very slow April and May, those are the numbers for Justin Turner. And a line drive over the glove of Freddie Galvis. And a base hit. Turner's aboard. His hitting streak is now at 10.
Right field, number 11, Josh Reddick.
Well, the rest of the home records, the best teams in the National League. Cubs, as you said, 37 and 17. Dodgers, 36 and 21. They have 4 more home games than the Giants do. Giants have a very good home record as well. The surprising team in there, I think, are the Brewers. They are 6th at 30 and 25. It's been an up and down year for the Pirates, but you have to win at home if you're going to be a contender in any league. Josh Reddick takes a strike, 0-1. Reddick is 2 for 23 with the Dodgers. I'll tell you, he had one hit last night, but he hit the ball hard almost every time he was up. Quick toss over to first. Turner's back without a tag. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Max Scherzer had a no-hitter for a good portion of this ball game, but then the Indians win it 3-1. Scherzer gets the loss. He's 12-7. Scherzer went 7 innings, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. Jose Ramirez had 2 RBIs for the Indians. Jason Worth continued what's been a renaissance for him, 14th home run. And the National League East looks like this. Miami 6.5 back, the Mets 9 back, and the Phillies at 15 back. Cody Allen picked up the save. There's nothing wrong with Andrew Miller. He actually pitched earlier in that game. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. He blew it by him. 96. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Velasquez. Well, that was a little high heat right there. So no runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left, and 3 impressive Ks for Velasquez. We will head to the second. Jim Thome will be inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame. You want to get your seats early for that memorable ceremony? It's all brought to you by Toyota, commemorative print given out to all fans. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Speaking of Phillies alums, we saw Ben Francisco today, former Phil's outfielder, scouting for the LA Angels of Anaheim. Ryan Howard leads it off, and he fouls it back. Greg Dobbs was here as well. I didn't see Greg Dobbs. Scott Fransky did see him outside. Howard hitting a .186, but he has been better lately. Takes low. 16 home runs, 32 runs batted in. Howard's hit in 5 straight games, even though he's not playing every day, but he has 8 home runs in his last 23 starts. Hitting .341 over his last dozen starts. You got a piece of that. That's 1 and 2. You might think those numbers are bad, and they are, but they are better recently. I mean, there was a point where he was hitless with 2 strikes.
Yeah.
It's lined out to straightaway center field. Peterson's going back, and he's going to get it. A sinking line drive. It was hit hard, but there's one away. The Eagles kick off their preseason Thursday night, and we kick off our coverage of the first game of 2016. Starting at 5, watch Phillies Sports Talk, then stay with CSN all the way up to game time with pregame analysis. Watch Phillies Sports Talk Thursday night starting at 5 right here on CSN. Of course, you've been following the Lane Johnson story all day. I'm sure you get a chance to follow that on csnphilly.com or on CSN. 73 degrees, and yes, it is a beautiful night for baseball. Is that redundant, Ben?
Yes.
Cameron Rupp takes a strike. It's 0-1.
We're watching the news, and I was going back to get supper, and I looked up at the news. The weatherman was on, and I'm thinking, boy, this guy probably racked his brain all day long figuring out what he was going to say.
Probably has to mix it up a little bit, just the way he describes things. 1 ball and 1 strike to Rupp. He broke Carlos Ruiz's bat in last night's game, so that's why he's got a different one tonight. Breaking ball, and it's 1-2. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Marlins shut out the Giants 2-0. Tom Kohler the win, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts. Fernando Rodney the save, his 19th of the year. Giancarlo Stanton had an RBI. And Brandon Crawford, after having 7 hits in last night's ball game, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. I wonder what Rennie Stennett did the day after he had the 7 hits back in the 70s.
I don't think I'd be able to go to sleep if I had 7 hits in one game.
3 balls and 2 strikes to Rupp. Cameron was 2 for 3 last night with an RBI. Check swing. No appeal, and Cameron Rupp draws a walk, so the first base runner for the Phillies.
Right fielder number 23,
That'll bring Aaron Altherr to the plate. By the way, Rennie Stennett the next day in Philadelphia, back in '75, went 3 for 5.
Wow.
Did you ever go 10 for 12 in 2 days, Ben?
No. I don't think I ever had 10 hits in a month.
Altherr was 0 for 4 with a run scored in last night's ball game. Get a quick shot of him. Two balls and no strikes.
I can't believe how many pitches he's thrown in the dirt already. It really is something.
Well, you mentioned all the pitches that he has, and it is not an oddity to see pitchers from Japan come over with an assortment of pitches. You know, a lot of times they'd like them to pare it down a little bit. Back to the screen with a 91-mile-an-hour fastball.
Good swing there by Aaron.
42% of the time he's using his fastball, 30% the slider, which is his best pitch. Curveball still 19% despite the fact it's being hit. Now his fastball, it says 42%, but he has two different kinds, like a lot of pitchers, 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. Center field. That's well hit. Peterson going back toward the wall. It is gone. A 2-run home run for Aaron Altair. And the Phillies take an early lead here at the top of the second.
This right center field pop. I'm loving it, Tom.
Shortstop number 13, Freddie Galvis.
That was just loud from the get-go.
Aaron Altair with that home run, his 3rd of the year, 12 RBIs.
Boy, did he create some backspin there. I didn't think he had enough. It was loud. I just thought it was going to be too high.
Well, Maeda not happy with himself. Francis Biggel of Philadelphia, happy, of course, because Francis won $100 thanks to Aaron Altair in the McDonald's home run jackpot.
Way to go, Francis.
So 2-0 Phillies, and Freddie Galvis is the batter. Galvis slaps it foul.
The fact that Aaron Altair can take that pitch and hit it out in that part of the park, that means your swing plane is spot on.
Hopefully that gentleman got himself a good photo. He was taking a few of them. Outside. Outside again. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Galvis. He'll be followed by Cody Ashe. Freddie on the year at .227 with 9 home runs, 41 runs batted in. Off the end of the bat, floats it out toward left. That'll drop for a base hit. 2nd straight hit for the Phillies, 3rd straight base runner. And that will bring Cody Ashe to the plate.
Fielder number 25, Cody Ashe.
Ashe 0 for 1 in last night's ball game. His average at .211. 5 for his last 53. Curveball's in for a strike. His curveball's better than what is advertised. At least it has been tonight. It still has a really big loop to it.
It's just so slow. I think it's to the point where it's too slow because you could see it, you'd be out in front, and then you have time to gather yourself again.
That's a good point. 28-year-old from Osaka, Japan. The high school that he went to in Japan, there are 65 players from that high school that have played professional baseball in Japan. Wow. The throw over to first. Galvis is back. Mentioned 28 years old. He was first a professional at the age of 18. There goes Galvis. Pitch is taken high. Throw to second base, though, is not in time. Galvis with a slide to the outfield part of the bag. Seager was way up to catch that throw. Now the Dodgers will review it.
Seager didn't put up a big stink about it, though.
No,
that's the only thing.
Bob Guerin, the bench coach for the Dodgers, on the horn.
I didn't think it was going to be that close.
I think he's safe, Ben. He was able to stay on the bag.
It's an excellent catch and release. I don't think he ever tagged him.
Yeah, they are going to review it.
Huh.
Alan Porter made the call.
Freddie said, "Come on."
I was talking to Pete the other day about middle infielders, because Pete was a middle infielder, about how they catch the ball at second base. He wants them to catch it in front of the bag, but this is way in front of the bag. Does not have. He's got him right there.
Yeah.
I can't tell if his foot's on the bag though.
Yep. No, he was out. What was it? Amazing catch and release by Grandal.
I can't tell if his foot's on the bag, because Seager went back to tag him again.
I think he got him right on that
Jeff
side.
Kellogg just said he's out, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something that New York said to him. It's all dependent on whether they can see whether the tag is on him before his foot hits the bag. It looked like he got the inside of his right leg before the foot hit the bag. But that's the part that's sort of blocked in the replays that we've shown you. So it wouldn't be surprising if it's inconclusive too. But again, they can slow it down, blow it up. They can do all the things that we can do.
Regardless, it's a very awkward slide here by Freddie.
It's a very awkward slide. See right there, did he get him before the foot hit the bag? Foot has hit the bag there. Yeah, and that's where he tagged him. Honestly, I know you think he got him, right? I think it's tough to tell where his foot was. But you're right, it was a very awkward slide.
It's awkward because usually when you slide on your left
cheek.
left cheek,
yeah.
left leg, your right foot's going to be extended farther than your left.
That's
and
right.
That's the foot that's going to tag the bag.
Here we go. Here's the call. Safe. I think that's going to come back as inconclusive, Ben, honestly. So the call stands. It's not confirmed. It stands. So it's inconclusive. So the Dodgers are without a challenge until the 7th inning, when they can ask for a crew chief review.
I'm glad I'm wrong.
Stolen base for Galvis is 11th of the year. So he's in scoring position with the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. We were asking Pete the other day about middle infielders, how they feel the ball from the catcher. I said, why are they not closer to the bag? And he said, well, I want them in front of the bag, which I was surprised. He goes, I don't want them straddling the bag. He goes, when I played, we straddled the bag. I don't want them straddling the bag, but I don't want them too far away where they have to reach to then make the tag, which is what Seager's issue was. If he had been closer to the bag, then the throw would have been there in plenty of time.
Because the ball's going to be faster than whoever's applying the tag.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Ashe, and he hits a foul. .25 pitches in this inning for Maeda. And now he asks for time. Tonight's ballgame is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television and change the language through the menu on your cable box. Outside, 2-2. Cody hits it off the hands to center. Peterson got to make sure his hat stayed on. He makes the catch, and there are 2 outs. And now Velasquez will be the batter.
Pitcher number 28, Vince Velasquez.
Vince's hometown of Pomona, in that area, about 30 miles east of Los Angeles, is well represented here tonight. Every time his name's announced, there's a pretty loud round of applause. Hitting .219. Vince reminded us yesterday that he was a really good hitter in high school. So he's looking forward to this at bat here tonight at Dodger Stadium. Mom and dad are here. His brothers are here. A lot of family members are here tonight. They were down on the field. They got a chance to watch batting practice on the field this evening.
The whole crew was down.
I wonder how excited they were to, Vin Scully always does the preview on the big video board here, and he described Vince being, 30 miles away, and his dad being a Marine, his brothers being in the military. I would think that had to feel pretty good for them.
Sure did.
Galvis goes. Pitch is taken high. Throw to third is high, and Galvis steals third. You better make it when the pitcher's up with 2 outs.
Better.
12 stolen bases now for Galvis.
He's a walking lead for sure. Nobody, either Utley or Seager, holding him on, but better make it.
And Velasquez fouls it into the second deck. There have been 32 wild pitches this year with Grandal behind the plate. He has 6 passed balls. That's not a lot at this point. 32 wild pitches is a lot. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
You don't think 6 pass balls is a lot?
Well, I actually should have deferred to you on that one at this point.
I think it's a lot.
So 6 pass balls is a lot at
now,
this point.
It depends on how many are cross-ups. If you have 3 cross-ups in there, then if you only have 3 right now, that's not bad.
Check swing, he went around. So Velasquez strikes out. First strikeout for Maeda, but the Phillies do take the lead. Freddie Galvis left over at third, but a 2-run home run by Aaron Altair gives the Phils a 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the second. Gonzalez leads it off for the Dodgers. Against Vince Velasquez. Gonzalez batting fifth again tonight. Back-to-back games as the number 5 hitter. So he's playing the pole, and the first pitch inside, 1-0. Let's see if Vince can duplicate the adrenaline rush he had in that first inning. He had a very lively and quick-moving fastball. Facing a tough hitter who rips it into right field, a base hit. And Gonzalez on his way to second. And he is there sliding with a leadoff double. 20th double of the season for Adrian Gonzalez.
That pitch at 93 miles an hour. Said if he can duplicate that kind of fastball, it's going to be tough. He was in that dugout for an awful long time. That's just a beautiful swing by Agon.
And the Yasmani Grandal, who had a 439-foot home run in last night's game. 17 home runs this year, one more than his career high, well, his previous career high. Inside. He's hit in 8 consecutive games, 6 extra base hits during that time. It'll be Grandal, then Peterson, and Howie Kendrick. Well, here's Grandal's home run. It was grand, all right.
I can't recall seeing a ball go over the visitors' bullpen up there in right field. That was a big one.
Yeah, it hit something and then shot back into the pen. Last 7 starts for Velasquez. He's 3-1. The Phillies as a team are 3-4. Not a bad ERA, 2.85. Actually, it's a very good ERA. 41 strikeouts in 41 innings. But it's less than 6 innings per outing. Little dribbler in front of the plate. Velasquez fires to first and 1 out. I don't know if he was telling Cameron Rupp to go back and cover home, or if he thought Cameron was actually going to field that ball or not. Either way, they weren't going to get anybody at third, so we'll deal with Jock Peterson. Adrian Gonzalez talking to Chris Woodward over in the third base coach's box. Breaking ball, 0-1. He's only thrown a handful of breaking pitches. They've been good, though.
They have been.
They've been a nice compliment to the 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Sometimes Vince will have a tendency to overpower those breaking balls. Just spikes them into the ground, but they seem to be coming out of his hand a lot better tonight.
Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Did you feel extra nerves when you were at the vet, when you played at the vet? And did your family, did they feel it also?
I wouldn't say nerves. I just say
excitement,
just anxious to get out there. And once I got on the field, I was fine. just leaving all those tickets was it was tough.
Is that the only thing you remember, or all the tickets you left?
Now I remember, we've talked about this. I do remember playing there on an August getaway day when it was 148 on the turf. 148.
That's hot.
Awful.
And a floater out to left. That'll be a base hit for Jock Peterson, who drives in a run. So it's now a 2-1 ball game. 47th RBI for Peterson.
Number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Just a good piece of hitting there by Peterson. Taking what the pitcher will give you.
Howie Kendrick, the batter, 262. Starting tonight on a night when they gave out the Howie Kendrick bobbleheads. Up backhands, 1 ball, no strikes. There it is. The Howie Kendrick bobblehead. That's right. His 2 sons threw out the first pitches tonight, which was kind of cool.
Very cool.
Kendrick's been a good soldier for the Dodgers. He moved to left field because Utley's playing second base. They were platooning somewhat early on, but then when all the injuries occurred to the outfielders, Utley basically took over second base as the primary guy, and Kendrick was playing a lot of the outfield. 2-0 pitch. A high fly ball to center field. Odubel Herrera is going back, and he jumps, and it is gone. A 2-run center field home run for Howie Kendrick, and the Dodgers have taken the lead 3-2.
I didn't think that one had enough to get out of here, but it did.
Both home runs have just sounded loud.
It's definitely crisp off the bat. Howie, not that big in stature, but he can generate some bat speed.
Look at the bobbles going on in the dugout.
That pitch was in and down.
It's almost the same location that Aaron Altaire's pitch was.
Yes.
Now Maeda, who has the lead, and he steps out and takes in. 1 ball, no strikes. Shows bunt, takes in again. Well, for Kendrick, that's his 7th home run. He has 28 RBIs.
It is something, though. It's your bobblehead.
Yeah.
Your 2 boys get to throw out the first pitch, and you go get a 2-run homer your first at bat. It's a pretty good day. Hopefully that's all the damage he will do tonight.
Yeah, it's all he needs for the evening. Maeda is 4 for 39. He does have a home run. Fights it off foul behind the plate. Odubel gave it a run. It just got over the wall, and he basically got himself tied down by the wall. I don't know if he would have been able to catch it, but there's a line drive to deep left field. Ashley going back. It's over his head. A run hop over the wall. And Maeda has his first major league double. So Maeda's at second base, and Chase Utley is the hitter.
Short swing. He knows Velasquez is going to supply the power. A short swing for a pitcher.
Well, he struck out his first time up. This is a 3-run second inning for the Dodgers. Ground ball to first, and Ryan Howard will take it to the bag. Three unassisted. Corey Seager coming up. He struck out his last time up. This is our Geico quote of the day. Dave Roberts talking about Corey Seager. When you don't think he can do any more, he continually exceeds that. Every time he comes up to bat, something special can happen. His defense has been consistent all year long. He's done so many things for us. Obviously, he's a special player. Murph, we've only seen him live one time, but he certainly does look like a special player.
Absolutely. You know, you can't help but, if you're a baseball fan, respect what you saw last night. I'm sure the Phils have seen quite enough of him live at this point, because he is one of those players, and he's one of those guys that was projected to do this kind of thing, but living up to those expectations, well, that's a difficult thing. But this kid seems to be doing it day in and day out. You mentioned what his manager Dave Roberts said about him. You talk to some of his teammates, they say the exact same thing. He is just he does his job. He comes in, he's very quiet and low key, but he comes in and he gets the job done, and he works as hard as anybody else. And I thought kind of a cool scene last night, Tom, after the game, Corey Seager was being interviewed post-game by their post-game reporter, and she asked him about the influence of Chase Utley has had so far this season for him. And he said, you know what? You talk about having a role model like Chase Utley in the lineup in front of you every day and getting to learn from him. The only thing I want to say to Chase Utley is thank you for showing me how to do it. Very similar kind of players, and he's having that kind of success.
Well, you watch BP, and they're always together. You know, they're always hitting together. They're always working together at their positions in the infield. We saw Chase do that with Cody Ashe and some of the other Phillies young players the last couple of years. California League MVP in 2014. One homer every 25 at-bats. That's improved somewhat in Major League games. One home run every 21 at-bats. They anticipated that. They expected that as he got bigger and stronger and older. I mean, look at him next to Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
But as he got bigger and stronger, that he would hit more home runs, which he certainly has done here in this first full year in the big leagues. Justin Turner singled his first time up. Well, if you're Vince Velasquez now, you've given up 5 hits. You got to get this last out, get back to the dugout, and hope the offense can continue to do stuff against Maeda, because this has not been the kind of second inning that you envisioned after a dominant first inning. Oh, 2. Swing and a miss. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and that wraps up the second inning. But the Dodgers do the damage. They scored 4 runs, including 2 on Howie Kendrick's center field home run. You get a bobblehead, you get a home run. It all goes together. Go to the fan section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. Ben, the question is, who are the only 3 Los Angeles Dodger closers to post consecutive 30-save seasons? Los Angeles Dodger closers. I don't want you to have to think back to the Brooklyn Dodger years. Answer will be revealed in just a little bit. Cesar Hernandez leads it off. Cesar popped out to short his first time up. And he hits one down the left field line. This time, foul. And it's 0-1.
I think I know 2.
I figured you would get 2.
I'm trying to think of the third.
I'll give you some hints a little later on.
Okay.
I'll tell you that this guy was a dominant closer for another team. The guy that I don't think you have right now. Oh, and 2, and his brother also pitched for the Phillies at one time. Upstairs, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Let's see what Maeda does with a lead. His shutdown innings are a little below the National League average. Two balls, 2 strikes. Try to backdoor it with that cutter, and instead it's 3-2.
On base right here, Cesar.
Let's see if the Phillies can get something going. They've got Odubel Herrera on deck as we start the top of the 3rd. Cesar fouls it away again. Maeda back in 2010 won the Japanese League's Triple Crown on the mound. Triple Crown is when a pitcher has the most wins, the most strikeouts, and the best ERA in the league. So because of that, he won the equivalent of the Cy Young Award. He did that. He was only 23 years old. 15 wins is his high watermark in Japan. And Cesar works out a walk.
Nice at bat.
Yeah, that's the second walk issued by Maeda. If your employees are on the road as much as the Phillies are, protect them with Independence Blue Cross. They're part of a national system of Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans that cover more than 100 million members across the country. Live fearless. Learn more at ivx.com/biz. Odubel Herrera is up for the second time. Herrera flied out to left field his first time up. Well, the walk came back and haunted Maeda before. Let's see if it does it again. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Zach Greinke popped off the disabled list today and picked up the victory for the D-backs. His first start since he got hurt against the Phillies on the 28th of June. He picked up his 11th win. Paul Goldschmidt hit his 18th home run. He also picked up 2 RBIs. Brandon Drury hit his 10th home run. Neil Walker hit his 20th for the Mets, but again, the Diamondbacks win at 5-3. That's a high strike to Herrera. 1 ball and 1 strike. So I get a miss. 1-2. Cesar takes his lead off first. Swing and a miss. Back to back of the same pitches. And Herrera, he can't gauge that changeup. And 1 out.
I'm thinking if I'm Odubel, I'm just going to let him try and beat me. You know, way out in front of a changeup or a splitter. The pitch before it, even if he does throw a 90 miles an hour fastball, his hand-eye coordination is good enough where he's okay to foul it off. He might just go ahead and shoot one through the hole on the left side.
The other thing too, Ben, I don't know if you agree with this, but the 2 changeups he swung at, they were probably balls.
Yeah.
Here's Maikel Franco. He grounded one back to the mound sharply his first time up. Utley is on the second base side now. Well, for Odubel, it certainly has been a tale of 2 different seasons. Hitting well over 300 for most of the year, but since the 3rd week of June, his average has been in the 230s. Franco takes a fastball, 0-1. Grandal does have a good arm, as we showed you before with Freddie Galvis steal. Freddie did beat it. See if Cesar tries to get into scoring position here. I thought maybe he would go with Herrera up. You know, a lot of times they like to leave that hole open on the right side with a left-handed batter. No balls, 2 strikes to Franco.
He can get that jump.
In the dirt, Grandal blocks it.
Cesar might be a little bit gun shy down there at first base, for the simple fact that he's gotten picked off a couple times and he doesn't want to get caught leaning one way and Maeda pick over there and get picked off. You can understand that at least.
Out to left field. It's not deep. Kendrick comes running in. It's going to drop in front of him. And Maikel Franco has a bloop single. And the Phils have something cooking here with runners on first and second.
6, Ryan Howard.
And Ryan Howard coming up.
Beautiful thing. Nice lawn dart to left field.
And Kendrick is not a left fielder by trade. So a lot of times when guys aren't used to playing the outfield, they do play deep. But I have to say that the Dodgers as a team are playing deeper. I don't know if it's because of Maeda, but they are playing deeper from left to right. I mean, look where Jock Peterson is right now in center field. I mean, he is really out there.
Ryan did hit a ball just to the wall. His first time up. Love to see one go over that wall this time.
Yeah. Upstairs, 1 ball and no strikes. Ryan Howard, for his career against the Dodgers, has 16 home runs. He's hitting under 200 against the Dodgers, but hitting over 200 here at Dodger Stadium. Outside 2-0. Love to see a little of that light tower power right here from Ryan Howard.
It is a no rush with runners in scoring position, is he?
He is not. Saw Clayton Kershaw over in the Dodgers dugout. No Clayton Kershaw in this series, and no Clayton Kershaw next week in Philadelphia. Did see him in the elevator last night. He seemed like he was in good spirits. Now Grandal is going out to chat with Maeda. Cut, taking a look at the scouting reports. So tapper foul, it's 2-1. Ryan asked if that was a good pitch or not. It was a strike. Just love it to be a fastball with a count 2 balls and no strikes. Pulled foul. Look out. Yeah. 2-2. Off the hands, out towards center. Peterson is there, and he makes the catch for the second out. Second time that Ryan Howard's been retired by Jock Peterson.
Number 29, Cameron Rupp.
And now Cameron Rupp is the batter. Phillies trying to get a run or two home here. They're down 4-2 here in the third. Cameron walked his first time up and scored a run. He scored on the Aaron Altair home run. Out toward right center field. Peterson on the run, and he'll get there. As Pat is problematic tonight, but he is roaming center field. He's got a handful of putouts, including the last two. Phillies lead 2 as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Nissan.com. Buy McDonald's. Mix and match any two for just $2.50 on McDonald's McPick 2 menu. And buy your local Ford stores. Last of the 3rd, and it's 4-2. Dodgers on top. They had a 4-run second inning. Let's see if Vince Velasquez can get back into his routine. Maeda talking to Rick Honeycutt.
Of the 6 hits the Dodgers have thus far, 2 hits off the changeup, 2 hits off the fastball, 2 hits off the slider.
Reddick struck out his first time up. First pitch is at the knees. A changeup at 90. And it's 0-1. Reddick was acquired from the Oakland A's along with Rich Hill, who they anticipate will start Friday night for the Dodgers. That is at least the hope. Little Tapper foul, and it's 0-2.
Doubled up. Love to see that.
One of the kids that the Dodgers traded to the A's in that deal, Jarrell Cotton, struck out 12 tonight for the A's affiliate. He was near perfect. And a foul tip hung on to by Rupp. 5 strikeouts for Velasquez. Now there's 1 away.
See, Reddick is just infuriated right there. Well, that's your fault for swinging that hard. 0-2. This is why the strikeout just doesn't matter in baseball anymore. An 0-2 count, you have a guy that throws in the mid-90s, you know that. So what are you going to do as a hitter, Tom? You're going to shorten up, you're going to take that giant swing, get a fastball blown by you, and curse at yourself all the way back to the dugout. I don't understand that. Say he does put a ball in play, he chops the ball somewhere, has a chance of being a hit. Not with that swing.
Yeah, he was looking to put it into the bleachers.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's Adrian Gonzalez, who doubled, started the 4-run rally in the second inning. Breaking ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Gonzalez scored on the single by Jacques Peterson. 405th career double for Adrian Gonzalez.
You look at Reddick's struggles, and he is in that 4-hole. I think you're going to see that flip-flop pretty soon with Gonzalez here. I believe Reddick is in that 4-hole because Egon is protecting him there. He's going to get a lot more pitches to hit, hitting in front of Adrian Gonzalez than behind him.
Just because Gonzalez is a more dangerous hitter.
Yes. He's more dangerous, and he's just better. Average, RBIs, everything.
Check swing. Did he go? No, says Brian Onora. .293 home runs. He is 4th among active first basemen. Howard is 3rd. That one's out toward left center field, and Odubel Herrera can't get it. And it will go to the wall, and Gonzalez will go to second base with his second double of the night. Well, obviously, Velasquez was frustrated that he didn't get the call on the check swing. That's a good swing right there.
Tries to get it in, it just ends up over the plate. That is such a pretty swing. Double down the right field line his first time up, double left center. He does use the entire field.
Here's Grandal. Grandal hit one back toward Velasquez his first time. So he's 0 for 1. And a high fly ball to right field. Altair going back. It is gone. Into the pavilion in right field. A 2-run home run. It's now 6-2 Dodgers on top. And he has homered in back-to-back games against the Phillies.
And he's hot. Another fastball here, and it's not hitting his location. It's just a lineup full of left-handed hitters with power.
31, Jock Peterson.
Into the stands in right field it goes.
Grandal with his 18th home run. He now has 49 runs batted in. And here is Jock Peterson. He singled home run his last time up. And he looked explosive against Reddick. But then after Gonzalez's double, not so much against Grandal.
All 5 strikeouts this evening have been on that fastball. He leads one out over the plate to Gonzalez and Grandal, and good hitters don't miss those pitches.
Ball 4. Howie Kendrick with a 2-run home run. His last time up is up for a second straight inning. Here's that second inning home run.
Fastball, it's the inside part of the plate. He hits it out to center. Stays inside the ball, drives it up the middle. It was loud, but I still didn't think it had enough to get out, but it did.
With the dirt blocked by Rupp. Out of play. The giveaway tonight. Kendrick has hit the 2-run home run in his giveaway. Up high, 2-2.
See the numbers there by the starters. Not been good. 5 1/3, 15 hits thus far, 13 earned runs.
Ground ball to shortstop. This might be 2. 1 quickly and 2. 6-4-3 double play. The sign is retired. So Grandal gives the Dodgers a little breathing room. A 2-run home run. It's the second home run of the night for Los Angeles. It's his second home run of the series. Golfed it out to right center field. 6-2 Los Angeles. We go to the 4th. And for the Phillies in the top of the 4th, it'll be Aaron Altair, Freddie Galvis, and Cody Ashe as the Phils try to make up some ground down by 4. Been a couple home runs hit by the Dodgers. Already 8 hits against Vince Velasquez. After a powerful first inning, he had a rough second inning where he allowed 4 runs and then just allowed 2 more runs in the bottom of the 3rd. So it'll be Altair to try to start things off. Phillies so far tonight have managed 3 hits. When your device is critical to what you do, only rely on the long-lasting power of Duracell batteries. Delivered right to your desktop the same day when you order by 11:30. By who? Who but W.B. Mason. Phillies fans are off to a good start at the top of the 2nd against Maeda, who's been very deliberate here tonight, which was the scouting report on him. Actually, the Dodgers signed him for an 8-year, $25 million contract. And it's an incentive-laden deal. As we mentioned, it can go up to $90 million by the time it's all said and done. Comes over, 28 years old, from Japan. And here's Altair. He homered his first time up. Curveball a bit high, and it's 1 ball and no strikes.
Imagine writing that contract up.
Got to be a lot of detail to it.
Here's your base salary. Please refer to addendums A through Z for what you may receive in future earnings.
Well, you know, the thing, too, is that he was durable over in Japan. You know, he threw over 200 innings a handful of times. He had 216 innings was his high point. As Altair whacks it foul, it's 1-2.
They do have different ways of doing things over there.
And there was one story that I read about his appearance in one of the All-Star games over in Japan. He threw 4 2/3 in one of those All-Star games. So much for spreading it around. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He gets Altair on the slider. And one away.
Shortstop number 13, Freddie.
And that's a good one there. That is a very good slider. Down and away. It was a ball, but it was a strike for the majority of the time since he released it.
Galvis singled his first time up and then was left over at third after a couple stolen bases. Over the dugout, out of play, and it's 1-2.
Remember my first year in Seattle, our closer was Kazuhiro Sasaki. All-star closer, came over from Japan, and catching bullpens like we typically do. And I said, "Oh, Kaz, I'll get you. I haven't caught you yet. I want to, if I have to catch you in the spring training game, learn a little bit more about you." So he gets to throwing, and he was throwing and throwing and throwing, and I'm watching rotation of these different pitchers that, you have 6 plates set up. This guy's done, new guy in. This guy's done, new guy in. And I just sat there and caught forever.
Well, you said you wanted to get used to it.
So we get done the bullpen, and I asked their pitching coach, Brian Price, who's the manager of the Reds, I said, "How many pitches was that?" And he said, 150. That was his burnout day.
Didn't you raise your hand and say, "Hey, can I get somebody else to come over and catch for me?"
Can I tap out? So needless to say, that was the only guy. And you're talking about a closer who's pitching 1 inning. It was something. It really caught me off guard.
Little dribbler foul toward the Phillies dugout, and it remains 1-2. Well, I mean, we hear stories about that, or like that, from a lot of different players coming over from Japan about their work ethic and some of the things that they do. But you're right, that's crazy. That's a closer.
Whew.
In the air to right field. That one is going back, and it is gone. Freddie Galvis, a solo home run. He jumped right on it. It's his second hit of the night, and it's now a 6-3 ball game. And Freddie has reached 10 home runs on the season.
That may have been the easiest swing I've seen him take all season long.
I would agree with that.
25.
I just got done talking about Reddick and his 2-strike approach. This is the antithesis of that. Foot down early. How easy he swings at this. I mean, that is as fluid as could be. Like he was in a rocking chair. This is a nice swing there by Freddie.
So the Phil's down by 3. Cody Ashe, the batter. And Ashe takes a breaking ball, and it's 0-1. 69 miles an hour with that curveball. Freddie, 10 home runs now on the year. 32 extra base hits. Off the end of the bat foul, and it's 0-2. Check swing by Ashe. Third base side, Seager on the run into foul territory. Makes the one-handed catch for the second out. Toyota Major League Scoreboard. The Braves have edged the Brewers 2-1. Rookie Tyrell Jenkins, who picked up his first Major League win against the Phillies, gets his second Major League victory. Willie Peralta, who was the opening day starter for the Brewers, went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 runs. It was his first big league action since the 11th of June. Markakis and Adonis Garcia each had RBIs. Ryan Braun hit his 19th home run for Milwaukee. Velasquez batting here at the top of the 4th inning. Swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. Back to the screen. "87 pitches for Maeda, and we have 2 outs in the 4th inning. So I guess we're seeing why he averages less than 6 innings per out.
I'm hard pressed to say if you just go up there and put the bat on your shoulder, he's going to walk you.
I think there's a pretty good chance. And Velasquez goes down looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Maeda. He does allow the home run to Freddie Galvis. Freddie makes this a 3-run ball game. A solo shot, his 10th of the year. Out into the pavilion in right center field. And we'll head to the bottom of the 4th. Visit buyatoyota.com to find your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phils. Bottom of the 4th inning. And Maeda will lead it off against Vince Velasquez. Freddie Galvis' home run gives him his 2nd hit of the night. It's been a struggle for Freddie from a batting average standpoint. Pete Buchanan said the other day, he goes, listen, he's going to finish with double digits in home runs. He said, I'll take that. He said, are there things he needs to work on offensively? Yes. Would I like him to try the bat that he used last year where he was just slapping the ball around? Absolutely. Out to left field, Cody Ashley is there. That one off the end of the bat by Maeda.
He'll also take his 42 RBIs thus far.
Second baseman,
Yeah, and you
Chase
don't know
Utley.
the defense that he's playing at shortstop. Chase Utley is 0 for 2, already up for the 3rd time here in the 4th inning. Well, if you wondered about Velasquez, 6 runs on 8 hits, only at 66 pitches at this point, which is a little bit more than you want to be in the 4th inning, but you want to try to get him a little deeper in this game.
The first time I've ever seen you use a telestrator, Tom.
I can use a telestrator, man. It was a little lower than I wanted it to be, though, the circle. Down low, 1 ball, 1 strike.
The extra base hits have really hurt the Phillies the first couple games here thus far. 13 of the 16 hits.
Wow.
13 of the 16 hits. I'm sorry, 13 of the 19 hits have been extra base hits.
That's still a lot.
Wow.
Utley lines it into right center field for a base hit.
So now they have 7 singles, 7 doubles,
Shortstop,
and 6 home runs.
Seager.
Well, now you got Corey Seager coming up with a runner at first base. It's a foul out of play. Corey Seager is the other half of the Seager brother combo that's playing Major League Baseball. His older brother Kyle, who's 28 years old, who played at the University of North Carolina, was a 3rd round pick of the Mariners, has played 110 games this year for Seattle and is hitting .282 with 20 home runs and 51 extra base hits. Now, Kyle Seager is a 3rd baseman. Corey's a shortstop. Kyle's a 3rd baseman. He's smaller than his younger brother. 6 feet, 210 pounds. He's having a solid year.
He is.
High fastball, 0-2.
Just never really hear or see anything about those players in the Northwest, or because you never get to watch them play. Seattle being so far away.
Mariners are 5 games over 500 at 58 and 53. Got to play again. Kyle Seager has 20 home runs. Nelson Cruz has 27 home runs. Robinson Cano has 24 home runs.
That's what I'm saying.
Adam Lind has 16 home runs. Even Dae-Ho Lee has 13 home runs for the Mariners. Fly ball left field. Ashe at the edge of the track puts it away. Two outs. Justin Turner's coming up. Well, Murph, one thing Pete McCann pointed out about Chase Utley is that he has not stolen a whole lot of bases this year. From a Dodgers standpoint, they're not going to swipe a lot of bags.
That's the bottom line with this team. It's not a team that is going to run a whole lot under Dave Roberts. If you take a look, Chase Utley has just one stolen base this year. We know what a good base runner he is. He stole some bases with the Phils, but you look at the numbers overall for the Dodgers, they're 13th in the National League in stolen bases, just 33. They've been caught 19 times. You take a look at that, put that in perspective. The Brewers already have 120 stolen bases this year. The leading stolen base, the guy with the most stolen bases for the Dodgers is Howie Kendrick. He has 7. So it's just not a team that's going to do a whole lot of running, not a whole lot of speed, but we've seen how they are able to manufacture runs in other ways. They certainly have the power to do that, guys.
Yeah, and Kendrick has not stolen a base since the 27th of June, even though he is the leader in the clubhouse for the Dodgers. That ball is ripped deep to left center field, and it is gone. A 2-run home run for Justin Turner. That is the 3rd home run of the night for the Dodgers.
The exact reason why you don't steal a lot of bases. You have thunder throughout your lineup. You don't want to run yourself into outs.
To 3, Dodgers on top.
And that one got out of here in a hurry. Big leg kick by Turner. I do like his high finish.
Well, here's Josh Reddick 0 for 2. Turner now with 21 home runs, 67 runs batted in. He's going to get himself a heck of a contract. It's going to be an interesting offseason for him. Popped up, Franco, third base side out of play.
There'll be a lot of teams interested in Turner.
Yeah, and the thing about Turner is that he can play other positions. Started playing third base in some ways out of necessity for the Dodgers, and has actually done quite well. Play first base, play second base. He has played the outfield, although I don't think they feel that comfortable with him in the outfield. Played a lot of second base for the Mets. Ground ball right side. Cesar Hernandez is up with it. So 2-run score in the inning for the Dodgers on the 2-run home run by Justin Turner. We've played 4. It's the Dodgers 8 and the Phillies 3. MLB.com @Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com @Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Cesar Hernandez lead it off. He has walked. He's also popped out to shortstop. Phillies trail at 8-3 as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Fly ball to left field over toward the line. Kendrick comes sprinting in. Seager's out, and Seager makes the catch. And one out, one quick out. And Odubel Herrera, who is 0 for 2. Odubel's fly to left field, and he is struck out. Got to get him going, Ben. I mean, Cesar's done a really nice job as the leadoff hitter, but Phillies were playing their best, I thought, when Odubel was leading off. But even if he bats second, they've got to get him going.
Yes.
And not only against righties, but against righties and lefties.
And that's one thing he did so well last year, was against lefties. Even in the beginning of this year, he was staying on pitches from lefties, working walks, spraying balls everywhere.
Ball foul past Mickey Morandini, and it's quickly 0-2. Odubel is no doubt in the plans for the Phillies for the future. Pete talked today about the possibility of again moving him to one of the corner outfield positions and putting Altair or even Roman Quinn in center field if Roman ever shows that he's healthy and progresses through the system. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Herrera. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a line drive, base hit it to right center field. Off the end of the bat for Herrera, so he's aboard. Odubel has a hit in his 3rd at bat. I think it hurt his hand a little bit.
Yeah, and he goes down on strikes his last at bat. On 2 consecutive, they were either splits or changes, whatever they were. Low 80s. This one, he stays back on. Yes, he breaks his bat, but he stays back a little bit more. You learn from at bat to at bat. It's a game of adjustments. But that's a completely different swing than we saw his last at bat when he just flailed at that slow pitch moving down and away from him.
Bronco singled his last time up out to left field, so he's 1 for 2. Phillies now with 5 hits. They got a 2-0 lead after the top of the 2nd. Dodgers, though, 4 runs in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th. For the amount of batters that he has fallen behind tonight, it's remarkable that he's ahead by 5 runs. They're probably thinking about what their next move is as far as the bullpen goes.
This is the 3rd 3-1 count.
And a line drive down the left field line. That'll be in for a base hit. Herrera's around second, going to third. The throw by Howie Kendrick on one hop is not in time. And he took a chance and he was able to get there. It was right in front of him, so that was his call. Like Franco has 2 hits.
And that's another reason why you need him on at the top of the lineup.
Absolutely. There's a little electricity that he provides.
First baseman Ryan Howard.
It's good hitting by Michael. 3-1 count, knowing that Maeda is not going to give in. Hangs a curveball. Double on his horse, makes it to third base easily. I mentioned he had 3 3-1 counts. He's had 5 2-0 counts already.
It seems like it's almost every batter. Ryan Howard is up. Howard is 0 for 2. He is lined out to the fence in center, and he's also flied out to center.
And this is not the guy you want taking the mound on getaway day, is it?
No. Dodgers will take it, though. He's won 10 games for him after winning 97 games over in Japan. Outside and low, 1-2. Jesse Chavez warming up in the bullpen. In the dirt, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Howard lines it towards second. 1 hop to Utley. There's 1 and 2. 4-6-3 double play. Phillies lead 1 over third base. They cannot convert and get a runner 2, so we'll go to the bottom of the 5th. It's 8-3. Dodgers on top. And our minor league report has us take a recap of the New York Penn League All-Stars. Adonis Medina, 9 starts, a 2.23 ERA. Ranger Suarez, a 2.72 ERA. And Jesus Alastar, 326 batting average with 11 RBIs Game will be played August 11th at Hudson Valley, the home of the Renegades. Vince Velasquez will go to work here in the bottom of the 5th. Adrian Gonzalez has 2 doubles tonight. And the first pitch, 0-1. By the way, in addition to the minor league report, Rhys Hoskins is within 3 home runs of the Reading Fightin's record for homers, set by Darren Ruff, who had 38. He has 35 home runs and 104 runs batted in. So he homered tonight. That means Cousins is going to have to hit 2 tomorrow.
Or 3.
Yeah. 1-1 pitch is line caught by Ryan Howard over at first. And 1 away here in the 5th.
Catcher, Yasmani Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal will be the batter. Grandal is 1 for 2. He had a 2-run home run his last time up. Well, here you go. This is the home run back in the 3rd for Grandal.
Camera up, set up inside. This ball creeps out over the plate. A good swing there by Yasmani Grandal.
Fouls that one away. It's 1-2. The Dodgers in this series have 7 singles, 7 doubles, and 7 home runs. Well, for the rest of this game and for tomorrow's ball game, Jeremy Hellickson, tomorrow's starter, have to somehow figure out how to get this Dodgers offense back on their heels. Tomorrow is an afternoon game, 3 o'clock start. Phillies then head home, off day on Thursday, and then Wall of Fame weekend, excuse me, at Citizens Bank Park. Swing and a miss. Well, that was a good change of pace right there. That changeup from Velasquez. It's the first strikeout he's had tonight on something other than the fastball. After Alumni Weekend, the Dodgers will be in town, an off day on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Chase Utley will make his return to Citizens Bank Park. Chase Rice will perform a post-game concert after Thursday's ball game. Tickets for all 3 games can be purchased at Phillies.com. And a reminder, for Thursday night, your concert ticket is your game ticket. Two and one. Little tapper foul, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. Now Kendrick is on deck. Ball 4. So Peterson walks for a second time. Maeda's night is done. He was congratulated in between innings. At least we're assuming his night was done. See where the Dodgers pop up into the on-deck circle. Looks like Seguin has a bat, now has a helmet, and he's walking up.
Well, if Maeda's incentives are based on pitches per inning, he made a boatload of money tonight. I would assume that this is Vince's last inning. 95 pitches. I will say I give him credit. This is obviously not the outing that he wanted. Coming back to Dodger Stadium and pitching in front of a ton of family and friends, but you can see he's still out there battling, giving it his best. Some pitchers will go the other way. They'll pout and moan and complain. He's still giving it 100% out there. You have to tip your cap to him for that.
The other part of it is the staff pushing him to get to this point.
Right. Pitch 100 coming up.
Runner goes. Pitch is lined to left center field. That'll be in for a base hit for Kendrick. Peterson's going to score because it goes all the way to the wall. And Kendrick pulls into second base with an RBI double. 9-3. Dodgers. 3 RBIs for Howie Kendrick tonight. That's his 18th double.
I think that might be the end of the evening for Vince. Howie's sitting dead red. Ball up in the zone. I think Vince is a little winded at this part of the ball game, and that ball's up. He knows it.
So Pete's out to make a pitching change. Velasquez's night is done. Howie Kendrick, 3 RBIs. 2-out walk to Peterson. Comebacks to haunt him. We'll have a pitching change when we come back. Hot dogs, 4 Coca-Colas for $100. That's the Phillies family pack. They're available for select weekend games, including this weekend with Alumni Weekend. Go to Phillies.com to get some information on the Phillies family packs. Great way to get to the ballpark, save a little cash.
25,
Dodgers 9, Phillies 3. Rob Segedin will pinch hit against Luis Garcia, the new pitcher. Garcia takes over for Vince Velasquez, and a first pitch breaking ball, and it's 0-1. Oh, and 2. Swing and a miss. 3 straight sliders. Segedin strikes out as a pinch hitter. And the Dodgers leave one at second base, but they also got somebody home from first base on the double by Howie Kendrick. On to the 6th. It's 9-3 Los Angeles.
Entertainment Tonight puts you in the middle of it.
Having a very productive summer. When the calendar turned from May to June, Cesar turned it up several notches at the plate and is hit with an average of the mid-300s for 2+ months. Hernandez has provided a spark at the top of the Phillies lineup and currently ranks among NL batting leaders in bunts, infield hits, triples, 4-hit games, and stolen bases. His offense has been very consistent, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Cesar has walked tonight, so his on-base streak has reached 17 games. Here's Jesse Chavez, who will take over for the Dodgers, his 4th game since being acquired by Los Angeles. A 12.27 ERA. He was with the Toronto Blue Jays. For the Blue Jays in 39 games, he had a 4.57 earned run average. How about last year? He started a lot for the Oakland A's. He won 7 games, made 26 starts. In fact, a reliever for a good part of his major league career. It was the A's that made him a starting pitcher in 2014. He went 8-8 with a 3.45 earned run average. Ball and 2 strikes to Cameron Rupp. Rupp is 0 for 1. He walked in the 2nd inning. Scored a run. Flat out to center field. Swing and a miss. 1 out here in the top of the 6th inning. And Aaron Aaron Alter's coming up. Time to get updated on what's going on around baseball. Here is Greg Murphy.
All right, thank you very much, Don. It is our greater coverage of baseball presented by T-Mobile. The Texas Rangers are holding a press conference tomorrow. It is expected they will announce the end of the playing career for Prince Fielder. The slugger had his second neck surgery in as many years, and many sources out there saying that he will not be medically cleared to play again. If that is the case, 319 career home runs for Fielder is what he will finish with. And we've been keeping you updated on the prospect for the Cleveland Indians, Francisco Mejia, and his hitting streak down there in the minor leagues. He has increased it to 48 games. That is the longest hit streak since 1954 in Major League Baseball, the 7th longest all time. And you know what's interesting about this, Francisco Mejia, he was part of the trade for Jonathan Lucroy. He was on his way to Milwaukee until Lucroy kiboshed that deal right by the trade deadline. So instead, he stays in Cleveland and he continues that hitting streak, guys.
Yeah, you wonder if that would have changed anything at all. If just the change of scenery would have hampered him. Seager throws out Aaron Alter, 2 away. And by the way, if Prince Fielder is done, and as Murph said, all reports indicate that he will not be medically cleared, he'll retire or finish his career with the same amount of home runs as his father.
Wow.
Wow.
That is something.
It is.
That's cool.
It's hard to believe because he was a guy everyone talked about, you know, his size and his weight and this and that. That guy played every day.
He was durable until the neck issues.
Every day.
Freddie Galvis homered his last time up. Prince Fielder is owed about $96 million too by the Rangers, and most of that will be covered by insurance, from what the reports say. Fielder's the most home runs he hit in a season were 50 back in 2007. As Galvis hits one into shallow left center field, Seager backing up, one-handed catch. It is a 1-2-3 inning. 9-3 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Dodgers on top.
All right, Dodger fans, I know you guys love this one, so help us.
Your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Del Val Honda dealer. Visit DelValHondaDealers.com. Buy Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. And buy WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. Bottom of the 6th inning. Dodgers up 9-3. Luis Garcia will face Chase Utley, who is up once again to lead things off. Utley is 1 for 3. His one was a single in the 4th that he scored. And he takes a strike, 0-1.
4th at bat, 3rd time he's led off.
Last night it seemed like he was leading off every time he was up at the plate. Another strike, and it's 0-2. he seems revitalized because of the opportunity to get back to the postseason. He said that for the most part, he said that's always been his goal. There's a chance to get back to the postseason and to win a world championship.
That's why these guys are playing. Hey, it's fun. It is fun. But you put that uniform on to win.
Up high 2-2. I just remember coming, going on the bus after the ceremonies at Citizens Bank Park when the Phillies won the World Series and went down Broad Street. Just the little smile on his face on the bus going back to our cars. And just the contentment after that. 2-2 pitch is lined in the left center field, and he's aboard with another base hit. Our GMC Precision Play of the Game. We show this quite often when we're showing highlights of the 2008 World Series Championship. I'm sure Jason Bartlett runs this through his head time and time again, but Utley fakes to first and then on one hop casually to the plate, and Bartlett is out.
That's one thing about Chase Utley. Always had a nose for the baseball, always realizing the situation he's in. It's a great deke, but even a better throw home. One hop to Chooch. Your GMC Precision Play of the Game.
Yeah, Chase has said that when that play took place, when he faked, he thought he would turn and throw and get Bartlett at third. I don't think he realized that until he threw it, or until he actually looked, that Bartlett was going home on that. Phillies went on to win the World Championship, of course. And one of the great scenes was I was in the radio booth while Harry and Wheels called the final out of that championship. Not only Wheels dancing, but Harry's call and the same kind of gratification on his face calling the World Series championship. And by the way, we would be remiss if we didn't, and he's probably tucked into his bed watching the game right now, but to wish Wheels a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Wheels.
The ball's at 2 strikes to Seager. Wheels, as everybody knows, celebrates 2 birthdays a year. One in April 9th, and another one on August 9th. The August 9th birthday is his legitimate birthday. The April 9th birthday he just added when he wrote his book. Everybody should have 2 birthdays, Ben. No balls and 2 strikes to Seager.
Nothing wrong with that.
Toss over to first, and Utley is back. Don't feather it over there. Fire it over there.
Surprised he didn't throw the ball out since it hit the dirt on that pickoff move.
Line drive, base hit for Seager to right field. Utley stops at second. Runners on first and second. October 29, 2008. Listen in.
The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Fran Lynn does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season.
That was a great call, and Wheels' dance, we affectionately call the Wheeler, was outstanding. I thought the best part was that he sat down and made sure he put the final out in his scorebook. What did he say to us today, Ben? He texted you. His birthday is still.
It remains a Philly circus.
Justin Turner takes up high. 1 ball and no strikes. In the dirt, and it's 2-0. Garcia nibbling somewhat here. That gentleman about 3 innings ago made a diving attempt for a foul ball. He missed the ball, but he definitely caught the seat to his right, and he's got a little swelling going on. He left to be tended to by the paramedics, but he just needed a little more baseball.
At first I thought it was the ball hit him, but unfortunately his face hit the seat to his right.
It happens. Here we go. Watch him with the hat, the fedora. Bam!
That's a rough go of it.
That is really a rough go of it. Security and the paramedics are right on him. And he did get the baseball. I think he lost the trajectory of the ball, though, on its descent.
Is that what it was?
I think. He's had that ice pack on that wound for a while. Swing and a miss. And one away. That's a good slider. Second strikeout for Garcia. And Pete McCannon's going to make a double switch. Josh Reddick was waiting to come up. So Araujo must be coming in. And we'll see who's going to be the switch. Featherston did have his glove on in the dugout. And he's coming up the stairs. So Featherston will take over. It looks like it's shortstop. Freddie Galvis's night is done. We've got a pitching change. Dodgers lead at 9-3. They have 2 runners on with 1 man down. Araujo is coming on. Cesar Hernandez moves from second base to shortstop, and Taylor Featherston will come on to play second base. He takes over for Freddie Galvis. Well, Araujo will bat in Freddie Galvis's spot in the order, and then Featherston will bat in the pitcher's spot. And Josh Reddick will be the batter. Well, a spot here for Araujo to face 2 lefties, Reddick and then Adrian Gonzalez. Reddick is 0 for 3 tonight. He has struck out twice and he's grounded out. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-1. outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Araujo isn't necessarily a situational lefty. He doesn't always come in just to face left-handers. Sometimes his breaking ball is such that he can dominate those lefties. It doesn't happen consistently yet. Out to left center field. On the run is Cody Ashe, and Cody gets there and makes the catch. Utley has to retreat and get back to second base quickly, and he does. Nice job by Cody Ashe. Really nice play on that.
Chase gives him a glance once he retreats to second base, like, I don't think you're getting that one, buddy. Look at him and said no.
Challenge number 2 is Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez takes strike 1, 0-1.
So that leaves Reddick as the only Dodger without a hit. Blues might eat him.
Let's keep it that way.
Yes.
Check swing. No swing, says Onura. .585 runs batted in since 2011. Marlins, Rangers, Red Sox, Padres, and Dodgers. Ryan Howard will take it to the first base bag. That will wrap up the bottom of the 6th inning. The Dodgers leave a couple. We'll leave for the 7th. 9-3 Los Angeles.
All right, Dodger fans, it's time for baseball balance presented by Budweiser. We got Trey here, and he was born ready to play this game.
First inning, it looked like things were going well for Vince Velasquez. It didn't finish up that way. Dodgers scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 2nd after the Phillies got 2 in the top of the 2nd inning. Velasquez went 4 2/3, allowed 9 earned runs and 11 hits. Howie Kendrick, Yasmani Grandal, Justin Turner, each with 2-run home runs. So as we go to the 7th inning, the Phillies trail at 9-3. And Cody Ashe will lead it off against Chavez. Ashe is 0 for 2. He has flied out and popped out, and he takes a breaking ball, 1-0. Ashe, Featherston, and then Cesar Hernandez for the Phillies. Frustrating couple of days for the Phillies ball club. Their young starters have hit some speed bumps as Seager goes out and can't catch that one off the bat of Cody Ashe. And that's his first of the night. I guess it's expected that for all these youngsters that they will have games like this, stretches like this. And you hope that they learn from it and keep growing and getting better and healthier.
Well, I know that hit by Cody Ashley had to feel good. He's going through a tough streak right now, and I know it wasn't hit hard, but it's still a hit.
5 for his last 55 before that hit, as Featherston fouls it at the plate. Two and two. Just a bit inside.
Yeah.
And a liner to left field. Kendrick comes on. He'll play it on one hop. And Ashley will stop at second. So Featherston has a base hit. Pitch runners on first and second. Time now for the Jeep Stuff the Fans Trivia Quiz answer. All right, Ben, here we go. Who are the only 3 Los Angeles Dodger closers to post consecutive 30-save seasons?
I'm going to say Gagne.
Eric Gagne is correct. He did it from 2002 to 2004.
Jansen.
Kenley Jansen is correct. He's working on 3 straight.
I'm going to say that I think your clue helped me out a bit in Worrell.
Which Worrell?
Tim Worrell?
Tim Worrell is incorrect.
Todd Worrell.
Todd Worrell is correct. Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of a Phillies prize pack. Forget that Todd Worrell has a couple of good years.
A lot of lights in the stands right now, Tom.
Yes, there are. Ground ball left side, cut off by Turner. There's one, and Utley drops it on the exchange. So Featherston is out. They were not going to turn 2 with Cesar Hernandez running.
No way. I think Chase was going to give it a try, though, if he could have made that exchange a bit cleaner.
Ashley is over third, and Odubel Herrera is coming up. One for 3, singled in the 5th inning. A little dancing. Todd Worrell, by the way, pitched for the Dodgers from '93 through the '97 season. 32, 44, and 35 saves his last 3 years with the Dodgers. Outside. 3 straight years of 30 saves or more with the Cardinals.
Gagne had 84 consecutive saves in a row. I'm going to say 84. It is.
Started his career as a starting pitcher. Gagne
Did not mind facing him when he was a starter. When he was closing ball games, oh, good luck.
Odubel fouls the 2-1 back, 2-2. One out here in the top of the 7th.
Nice swings here by Odubel.
Strike 3 called. Odubel does not concur.
Third baseman number 7, Michael Franco.
And Michael Franco will come up. This is just too close to take.
It is, and that's paint. Odubel doesn't like it, but that's a good pitch. Right at the knees, right on the corner.
Franco has 2 hits tonight. Single in the 3rd, single in the 5th. He went around on a high slider, and it's 0-1.
For a guy that doesn't throw that hard, I mean, you see the velocity here on Chavez, 90 to 92. He loves his fastball.
Runs it outside, 94 on that one, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Luis Avila warming up in the pen for the Dodgers. Ryan Howard is due up next. They go to the lefty. They will most likely go to Tommy Joseph to pinch hit. Runner goes from first, pitches Lifted into the air to shallow right field. Utley backpedaling. Says he has it. And the Phillies go down here in the 7th inning. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. Time to stretch. Phillies trail it by 6.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And as Elvis Araujo continues to warm up out on the mound, every time the Phillies pitchers retire the opposition 1-2-3, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Araujo, who's been up and down with the Phillies this year, he has kept his old hat though. That stuff has got a lot on it. Yasmani Grandal, the switch hitting catcher, will bat right-handed. He has a home run tonight. In fact, he homered last night and tonight. 18 now in the year, 49 runs batted in. Dodgers now have 10 home runs in the last 3 games. They took 2 of 3 from the Red Sox this past weekend. They had 3 home runs on Sunday as David Hernandez warms up in the pen. They hit 4 home runs last night against the Phils, and of course 3 tonight. It's only the second time, Ben, second time in Dodgers history that they've had 3 or more home runs in 3 straight days. A facility, and you wouldn't know it because they've done so many renovations. A facility that's opened in 1962. 3 balls and no strikes. The last time the Dodgers had that kind of a run was in May of 1979 against the Mets and the Expos. Ron Cey, Joe Ferguson, and Davey Lopes had 2 each. Steve Garvey, Bill Russell, Gary Thomason, and Steve Yeager also had home runs during that stretch.
I don't know if I'd take a little exception to that 3-0 swing. Up 9-3. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Center fielder number 31, Jock Peterson.
Think the guys in the field noticed it? But isn't that part of not giving away at bats? I mean, seriously, if you're Grandal, I mean, maybe you tell them to take 3-0 if you're the manager.
That's what I'm saying. It just, in my mind, you're up 6 runs. It's the bottom of the 7th.
Jock Peterson has walked twice. And he takes low, 1 ball and no strikes.
And you say it's a pop-up there, right? You know, you have a guy on the mound that at times struggles with command, will walk a hitter from time to time. I'm looking at Grandel. 1 for 3 with a homer.
Out towards shallow right center field. Featherston's under it, puts it away, 1 out. So are you saying that from a hitter standpoint, or are you saying that just from a respect standpoint that you're up by 6?
From both. More so from a respect standpoint.
We have double switch going on. Jimmy Paredes is coming in. Aaron Altair is going to go to center field. Odubel Herrera is going to check out of this ball game. And the Phillies will bring in David Hernandez with Howie Kendrick coming up. So a pitching change here in the 7th inning. Elvis Araujo's evening is complete. He is responsible for the runner at first. Saturday and Sunday, 7:05, 7:05, and then 1:35. It's all brought to you by Toyota. It's part of the Phillies and the Rockies series. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Changes for the Phils. Aaron Altair goes from right field to center field, and the new right fielder is Aaron. The new right fielder is Jimmy Paredes. And with Paredes on, David Hernandez will come on to face Howie Kendrick. Kike Hernandez is in the on-deck circle. And a line drive caught by Cesar. Boy, Howie Kendrick has hit it right on the nose tonight. 2 outs.
He's locked in. I guess what I'm trying to say about the whole 3-0 thing is 3-0, I don't think you should be swinging up 6 runs in the 7th inning. Okay?
You have no problem 3-1.
3-1, I don't have an issue at all. Not at all. But 3-0. Yeah, if you're swinging 3-0 when you're up 6 runs, you have one thing in mind. Which is fine, but then just do it 3-1.
So you're saying that a 6-run lead, and I think this, but a 6-run lead is not insurmountable.
It's definitely not insurmountable, but and conversely, if the Phillies were to swing down 3-0, or if they have a 3-0 count down by 6 runs, I would take exception to that.
All right, so is that that's an unwritten rule in baseball? Right?
I would think so.
The ball's at 1 strike to Hernandez, pinch hitting. 6 for 29 with a home run as a pinch hitter. Inside, 1-1.
I'm not saying by any means you just roll over and say, oh, we're beating you by 6 runs. We don't want to bully you. I'm not saying that whatsoever.
Big swing right there, and it's 2-2.
It's the only way he knows how to swing.
Well, we saw last night, if you throw him a breaking ball toward the outer edge, he may have a little trouble getting it. Two pitch. Got it. No runs, no hits, one man left. On to the 8th inning here at Dodger Stadium.
Fans get a safe.
Toyota, the annual clearance sale is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. Buy Jefferson. Call 800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And buy Chevrolet. Visit your local dealer at chevydealer.com. Top of the 8th inning, the Dodgers lead at 9-3 over the Phillies. Grant Dayton is the new pitcher for the Dodgers as he comes into his 3rd ball game. And he will face Ryan Howard to start things off. Grant Dayton, 28-year-old out of Huntsville, Alabama, and Auburn University, former 11th round pick by the Florida Marlins. This is his first time in the big leagues facing Ryan Howard. And Howard takes a breaking ball, and it's 0-1. Good numbers in Oklahoma City. 2.97 earned run average and 4 saves. Howard takes a fastball, and it's 0-2. Over shift on. Turner, the third baseman, is out in shallow right center field. Or right field, I should say. No matter, though. Howard strikes out. And one out here in the 8th inning.
Catcher number 29.
So Turner will cross back over as Cameron Rupp will come up. Rupp is 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-1. Check swing. Foul tip, and it's 2-2. Aaron Altair is out of the on-deck circle. Well, it started out as a good night offensively for the Phillies with the 2 runs in the second inning. They haven't managed much since. They did add a run on a home run by Galvis in the 4th, but that's it. 2-2. Swing and a miss. And Rupp strikes out for the second time. Back-to-back strikeouts for the left-hander.
Center fielder number 23, Aaron Altair.
And Aaron Altair, who has a 2-run home run in this ballgame, 1 for 3.
It did look very promising early on after that first inning where Vince Velasquez went out. Did give up the single to Turner, but he struck out the side.
I thought there were a couple of things, in my opinion, Ben. I don't know how you felt about this. The fact that Maeda struggled so much with his command early on, I kept thinking, all right, well, they're going to get to him and get some runs, and because his curveball was so loopy. And then, combine that with what Velasquez did in that first inning. Popped up left side. And Seager's under it. And the Phillies go down quietly in their half of the 8th inning. A 1-2-3, top of the 8th. We'll move to the bottom of the 8th inning. Dodgers still holding on to a 6-run lead. A defensive play of the game. Now, there haven't been a whole lot of sparkling plays. This one was pretty good, though, by Maeda.
It was a good one. I think this ball would have snuck up the middle, especially with that overshift that they have on. But Kenta Maeda, very quick to snare that one off the bat of Michael Franco. That is your Hyundai defensive play of the game, brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
So Chase Utley will lead things off against David Hernandez. Utley tonight has been up 4 times. He's 2 for 4. First pitch is inside. 1 ball, no strikes. He came in with a .250 batting average, where you know that you have a lot of plate appearances because his average has only gone up 3 points. Chase said yesterday that he has spoken with Ryan Howard. He talks to Cody Ashe. He did talk to Jimmy Rollins before Rollins was let go by the White Sox. He only talked to Chooch once or twice. Depending on if Utley plays tomorrow, day game, he'll get a chance to chat with Chooch, as Chooch most likely will be catching Jeremy Hellickson tomorrow. Swing and a miss. And Utley strikes out.
And also for the fact this has been a long game behind the plate for Cameron Rupp.
Corey Seager.
On the next Phillies clubhouse, Maikel Franco explains why he's so excited about the team's future. Plus, we look back at Jim Thome's highlights as he gets set for his Wall of Fame induction. Watch Phillies Clubhouse Wednesday at 2 right here on CSN. One ball and no strikes to Seager, who is 2 for 4.
One thing I have noticed about Seager is just not a whole lot of hand movement. He does wiggle a little bit, but he doesn't really drag his hands back. Some hitters like to drag their hands back. Little timing mechanism. He just kind of goes right from where he's at. Very simple setup.
Trying to check his swing, and he went around, says the home plate umpire Jeff Kellogg. Second out here in the 8th inning. Back-to-back strikeouts for David Hernandez. He has 3 facing these last 4 batters.
It's nice to see him battle back from the 3-0 count, get himself back into the count, ultimately strike out Seager.
And now Justin Turner, who is 2 for 4 with a 2-run home run. Popped him up right side of the infield. Cesar Hernandez on the outfield grass. And Taylor Featherston on the outfield grass. So one last chance for the Phillies as we go to the top of the 9th inning. They're down by 6. We'll be back right after this.
Are you ready for the wheel of cans?
Deliveries of the game.
Well, this offense from the Dodgers has not slowed down these first 2 games. Doing it with extra base hits. They're definitely doing with this long ball. Howie Kendrick, Yasmani Grandal, Turner. They're getting good pitches to hit, and they're not missing them. Hopefully tomorrow will be a different story. Keep the ball inside the yard, but they are your WB Mason deliveries of the game.
So now we go to the top of the 9th inning. Jimmy Paredes will lead things off. And J.P. Howell will come on to pitch for the Dodgers. And Howell delivers outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Paredes hitting 198. Outside, 2-0.
J.P. Howell, very odd in the fact that he uses an open webbed glove out on the mound. The only other pitcher I can think of that uses one is Houston Street.
Tell folks why pitchers don't use the open web glove.
Well, because more often than not, you might be able to see a grip on a pitch when he sets it up in his glove.
Now he does have it deep in his pocket, but
there you see the webbing right there is just all open.
Down the right field line, that'll slice out of play.
Most like you'll see infielders and more so with outfielders have that open webbing. But something he feels comfortable with.
Closer at one point from time to time. More so now a situational guy, although here he's just cleaning up the 9th inning. And a line drive, 1 hopper, knocked down by Seager. And he will not have a play on Paredes. Tyler Goodell will pinch hit. It is a base hit for Jimmy Paredes.
Sure would hope so.
Goodell whacks it foul, and it's 2-2. Off the hands.
Good at bat by Tyler here. Not down early, but he's fouled a couple off.
Swing and a miss. And Tyler Goodell strikes out. And with one away, Featherston will bat for the second time. He had a base hit his only at bat.
Second baseman number 21, Taylor Featherston.
Again, tomorrow, Jeremy Hellickson will be on the mound for the Phils. Scott Kazmir on the hill for the Dodgers. It is a noon local time start, 3 o'clock. And then the Phils after the game will head home. On the inside corner, 0-1. In the dirt, and it's 2-2.
Oh, to be left-handed.
Oh, to be left-handed is right. Right-hander comes in throwing at this velocity. He wouldn't be around much that long. Why is that?
Tom, I wish I had an answer for you.
Over to third, that might be 2. Turner to second for 1. Utley over to first, and it's not in time. Dug out by Adrian Gonzalez, just not enough on it by Chase Utley. Well, there are 2 outs. The Dodgers will take a peek at it just to see.
It's a heck of a feed by Turner. It was in his glove and out.
Clayton Kershaw is going to get on the horn and check it out. Got nothing else to do, Ben.
No, he does not.
Kershaw said it was close. There goes the runner from first. That ball is lined out toward right center field. Peterson is under it, makes the catch, and the ball game is over. The Dodgers have taken the first 2 games of the series as they win tonight 9-3 over the Phils. Phillies in their half of the 9th inning, no runs, 1 hit and 1 man left. Another starting pitcher got banged around tonight for the Phils, and our Chevrolet player of the game is Howie Kendrick. On the night they gave out his bobblehead, he goes 2 for 4 with a double, a home run, 3 runs batted in for the Dodgers. So LA takes the first 2. Series finale tomorrow afternoon. We'll take a break and wrap things up from LA right after this.